Do they have a world of their own? All the Puranic stories of Durga, the Devata, Asur, are, are they all real in a different world? Are they happening? And I mean, those are stories that humans are perceiving, and there is some connection with the earth as well. For example, Devi as a young girl in Jammu in Vaishno Devi, and right, those are real incidents, right? So she went through this hill. There is a little cave there, for example. So there is what do we call that? The Thala Purana of each place, each temple. I mean, are they in some other plane of existence, or are they existing here and there is connection with the earth?
Does it exist or does it not exist? It exists, but it doesn't exist in the way that you and I think about things existing, because this is what we think about things existing.
Yeah.
But do I believe there's a Nagaloka? I absolutely believe there's a Nagaloka. For one thing, Dr. Ram Kumarji repeatedly at Vaidagrama holds a Sarpabali, in which a Nagaraja is invoked, and you can, if you have the proper way of sensing, you can tell when the Nagaraja is there. There's definitely a presence that is different from, and it's different. It's different. It's not a human presence. It's a presence. It's an awareness. It's a consciousness, but it's not human. And people have been talking about Nagas for centuries, and Vishnu sleeps on a Naga, and Shiva has one around his neck, and Ganapati has one around his belly, and Buddha had one that was protecting him while he was getting enlightened. So the Nagas have been around for a long time. So they must be living somewhere. And when we have the testimony of, in Ayurveda, there are 4 pramanas. There's pratyaksha, you have personal experience. This is optimal. There is anumana, inference, yatirata dumaha tata tata vanhi. Wherever there is smoke, there must be fire. There may be fire without smoke, but there's no smoke without fire. Then there's upaman, analogy, and then there's aptopadesh or aptavakya, the testimony of experts. So when I have the testimony of an expert that says that this is the way things are, then I will believe that expert. And I, at least, have been very fortunate. Vimalanandaji was an expert. I met I refer to him as Junior Guru Maharaj, but I met him several times, Sri Ram Vishwambar Das Ji, whose samadhi is at Simhachalam, just outside of Visakhapatnam. I met him every year, at least once a year, for 12 or 13 years. And so I have testimony from him also. So as far as I'm concerned, absolutely.
And you said that the energy, if not held in a murti, would dissipate. So why do we give the same form? Does that energy have a certain form by itself, or is that the humans have given that?
But it's a co-creation. So when the humans were calling it Rudra, it was the form. Rudra's body was the storm.
Okay.
Now we're calling it Shiva, and we're saying, okay, Shiva, we're going to give you this linga is your body, or we're going to give you Nataraja. We'll let you dance, maybe at Chidambaram or somewhere else, or we'll give you some other body. But that's a convenient vessel for. But Shiva doesn't have to be in there. Shiva can take possession of someone. Shiva can take possession of a snake. Shiva can take possession of a bull. Shiva can take possession of whatever he wants to. And he will, and of course, part of what happens is, here you have, let's just call it the Shiva field. There's this giant field of awareness that's there. And, Shiva is samadhi nishto. He is always in samadhi. And you sit down and you start to say, I'm going to attract Shiva's attention. So, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Panchakshari mantra. you recite a lakh, you're a lakh, you recite a crore. Shiva, of course, is in samadhi. If you are really consistent, and it may take more than one lifetime, eventually Shiva will say, I can vaguely hear something happening over there. And then after another couple of janmas, then he will start to hear more. And then he will think, at some point I'm going to have to pay attention to this even more. It's like what happened to Kalidasa. Supposedly he sacrificed his life 9 times before he actually got darshan of Kali. So you have to attract the attention of the devata. Then once you got the attention, once the attention is attracted, that itself is going to move in the direction of creating an image like the one that you were projecting on it. And as Vimalananda used to say, the first thing that's going to happen is, let's say you're worshiping Shiva.
But did the image come first, or did the projection of the image come first? In the sense, let's go to Kali, for example. Uh, is there a real consciousness? Is it just energy of the whole universe who we give an image to? And that could be an image of a Kali at this point. Tomorrow it could be the image of a phone or a glass or something else. Is it that simple? Or does Kali as the super conscious creating energy field have that as the image to whoever reaches a certain level of awareness?
Here we have the Sankhya Darshana. And in the Sankhya Darshana, we have Purusha and Prakriti.
Yeah.
We have Mahat Tattva, or Buddhi. We have Ahankara, which is Kundalini. Ahankara is moving towards individuality. Kundalini is moving away. And Ahankara is made up of Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. So what happens in the case of, you'll notice that, most of these devatas we talk about, there was originally a rishi who created the mantra. So we have this, and take Ganapati for example. A Ganapati originally was not the Vignaharaka, he was the Vignakaraka.
Okay.
He was always creating vignas, kind of like 80 devata. And finally, Ganaka Rishi, whoever Ganaka Rishi was, Ganaka Rishi said, enough of this. So he started paying attention to Ganapati. And because he was a rishi, he was much more influential. And he had plenty of time. He had thousands of years. And he just kept focusing on until he was able to grab hold of the attention of the Ganesha, the Lord of the Ganas. And then he said, what are you doing? Instead of creating complications for everybody, you should be removing their vignas, and then they will give you mitai. And you will be happy, and they'll be happy, and everything will be great. And then Ganapati said, you're absolutely right about that. And now we have the Ganapati that we're so fond of in Maharashtra, Ganapati Bappa Moria. But that was because somebody intervened. So we have to go back to the rishis, who were in fact generating, with the help of their own focus, with the help of their paravani and pashantivani, they were visualizing. They were saying, this is an image that will be useful for people to work with. And then let's suppose you're going to think, you're going to visualize Ganapati. And if you, for example, if you follow the Ganapati Atharvashirsham, he is red, and you worship him with red flowers, and so it's a very specific kind of dhyana vidhi, and you continue doing this long enough, you will bring that image to life in your own sukshma sharir, in your own subtle body, which is, after all, part of the living part of you. But now that and it's sort of like you've created this image that is a mirror image of Ganapati, but you've brought it to life. So now the mirror image will be able to connect to the real Ganapati, and then you will connect to the real Ganapati. So the images, in a way, they are just images. And in a way, they are doorways to the Devata, which is something, the totality of the Devata is, it's in a different dimension. So, you know, we're three-dimensional people, but just pretend we were two-dimensional people. And here comes a sphere. But the sphere is now passing through this two dimensions. We don't see the sphere because we can't see it. We see what looks like a circle, and it gets small, and then it's a big circle, and it gets small again. We don't see what happened. We can only see what our dimensionality can do. So we're doing the same thing with these devatas have they're in all kinds of dimensions. We can see what little we can, but if we work with what we can see, then we can connect into them, and then we can become samipya, sayuja, sarupya, whatever you and that devata may want to collaborate with. So you have something like Kali, for example. Whoever initiated that image was definitely working with the funeral pyre. So the funeral pyre was pradanya, but then an image started to emerge, and whatever rishi was working with that started to work with that image, and then that image took on some of its own. It took on its own independent reality, and then people kept feeding it, and that independent reality is a function of tamas. So this is a function of tamas. Hooray for tamas. We don't want too much of it, but if there was no tamas, there would be no stability whatsoever.
Okay.
So tamas is wonderful, unless you overdo it, in which case tamas is not so great anymore. So by virtue of tamas, there's enough tamas in Kali, and of course she's very tamasy because she is, after all, a smashan goddess. But there's enough tamas in her image that people can grab hold of it. That reinforces its solidity. That reinforces it as a darawaja, as a portal between you and the actual the devata. As Vimalananda used to say, you know, is the sky blue? The sky is not blue. The sky is colorless, but the sky looks blue to you and me. Kali looks blue to you and me, but she's, you know, why should she be blue? She could be any color she wants to. She looks blue to you and me because we have that limitation of human perception.
My God, I've got so much clarity that I've been seeking for years now, talking to so many people, asking the same questions over and over again. I will have to watch this recorded conversation multiple times.
All thanks to Sri Vimalananda, first what he taught me, and then how he taught me to learn things. And he always said, Anubhav Siddha Karo. The Ayurveda and Jyotish and Vastu, the laboratory is in the world. You have to try out, what is the guna dharma of this? Does it work for me? Does it work for you? Does it work for him? Then you know about it, but only if you've actually had the anubhav of it. So you go to places, you see things, you learn things, you take from whatever is useful.